Welcome back, everybody, to the Nightlife Podcast, Season 2, Episode 22. Actually, man, that's like 44 episodes we've been doing. And we are here with my good friend, Ray Perez, #1 branding expert, global branding expert, as a matter of fact. I have no idea how you got that title and that name, the whole thing, but whatever you're doing amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I see you all over the place. So I love that. I wanted to, for you to tell our listeners and viewers a little bit about you, a little background, because I met you actually in the nightlife industry.
That's right.
And you've gone a long way.
Yeah.
So why don't you
how long ago was that? Now that we've...
Oh man, we're talking senior Frux years.
Yeah, we're talking like 1999 going to the beginning of the 2000s.
Probably.
So we're talking almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So this is actually really cool to be on the show, interviewed by someone that I know from 20 years ago from the nightlife industry, and his podcast is called The Nightlife Podcast. So that's, I mean, how many other previous nightlife promotions people have you interviewed so far?
I mean, the people I interview are usually in the industry, but I haven't interviewed somebody that used to be in the industry and has blown up in whatever they're doing nowadays.
Cool. So I'm the first.
Yes.
All right. Cool. So we're both popping our cherries today.
Exactly.
That's good stuff. All right. So yes, I am the #1 global branding expert. And anyone who's listening to this podcast or watching us on live, you guys can go into Google and type in global branding expert, and I will be the top person that pops up. Right. And because of that,
I did check that, and it does come
he
up.
verified it. And because of that, a consultant of mine said, well, why don't you add #1 in front of your title?
Right.
You are the #1. You are the #1 anywhere you search. Because I actually had people in Australia, England, Sweden, friends all over the world. I asked them to go on Google and search it because I was afraid that if I was doing it here in Miami, something in the algorithms would be showing me. Correct. So I wanted to be 100% sure, and it's true, I really am. And to be honest, this has only happened over the last 3 years. I've been in branding, I've been in marketing, I've been in promotions since back in the day,
doing events
right out of nightlife. I took everything I learned in the club industry and I turned it into business promotions and marketing for any type of event that has to do with seminars, trade shows, you name it. Right. And I've been doing that for over a decade. But 3 years ago, I started to become a public speaker. I started to learn about the power of public speaking and being on stage and having an audience and being able to deliver your message and your story and affect hundreds, if not thousands or millions. Right. And once that started happening, I started realizing that the power of an individual, of a person, of your personal brand is very valuable and can make a lot of impact. And obviously I can give some examples like Gary Vee, Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone. These are people now that are just like humongous and everywhere, and they're making an impact. And people who meet them through social media, through any digital presence, feel like they know them. They feel like they're connected to them in some way. It's all about personal branding.
Right.
So therefore, I just dedicated the last 3 years. I wanted to be the most effective public speaker that I could be. And I just started looking at all the things that other people were doing and saying, how can I do it even better? And that's how I went down the path of personal branding. And today, being the #1 global branding expert.
Amazing. Dude, so I'm glad you accepted my invitation, first of all, to the podcast, because I know there's a lot of information that you have for our viewers, specifically when it comes to the branding part, of course, but a little more towards the niche of the nightlife in general. For one, due to your experience in it, but because you understand the whole concept. Now, I've been talking the past couple of episodes about the difference between online and offline promotion, meaning, everything that you do when you're not online, because a lot of people concentrate 100% on online.
Yep.
And some of us that are online, focused on online, we focus on one thing. Like everybody's on Instagram because it is the one that's leading everything else, whatever. Correct. But they forget about everything else. And we hear people like Gary Vee, people like you talking about you have to be everywhere, that kind of thing. But I hear you talking a lot about person-to-person contact, and I spoke about that in the last episode, as to how it is always going to be like that. The most important part is those people that you get to actually touch and feel on, that kind of thing. Now, what is the difference when it comes to branding between branding yourself online and branding yourself just branding in general?
Well, that's a really good question, actually. And I think there's similarities, but I think we have to back up and really ask ourselves, what is a brand? Correct. And CEO of Amazon, we all know Mr.
Yes. Went to my high school, actually. Palmetto.
No way.
Yes.
Get out of here. All right. Well, that's a whole different conversation. But he says that a brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room.
True.
So if you really stop for a second, and when I saw Jeff say that, or I saw a picture of him or somewhere that I downloaded, and then it said, branding is what people say about you when you're not in the room. Now, maybe they're not saying anything, but that talks about what your brand is.
Right.
It might be nothing Correct. To people because they have nothing to say about. It could be bad. They could be saying bad things about your brand.
But they're saying something.
But they're saying something, so you're getting some. So the question is, how do you get people to be talking great things about you when you're not in the room?
Correct.
That's what I define as branding. And that's what I focus on when I do my events and when I teach branding. It's all about, how do you start to build a relationship with people? How do you get them to know, like, and trust you? But really, if I were like to boil it all down, how do you get people to love you?
Okay.
And like, I mean, for me, this has been like a revelation, man.
All about love.
It really comes down to love. Because if people can feel love from you, even if it's not physical, but because they listen to you and because they see you and they watch your videos, they listen to your podcasts, your Facebook Lives, all the things that you're being out there with your message to the world. Right. If they fall in love with you, and I don't mean like romantically, maybe some, you're a good looking dude, but the point being is they're like, I really like this person, you know what I mean? And they feel that connection, they feel that love.
Right.
They will now follow you with whatever it is that you do, whether it be the nightlife, whether it be a business, whatever it is. And the second thing and most important that I teach everybody is that if people feel connected to you, they feel that love, they feel that energy. If you have a product or service that can fulfill a need for them, they're going to choose you over your competition.
Right.
Because of the way they feel about you.
Right.
But let's say they don't have a need for your product or service, but they still feel this way about you. They will introduce you to someone that they know that is your perfect customer. Haven't you ever said, hey, you know what? I'm going to introduce you to my friend so they can totally use your service or they can benefit from what you do because they feel so connected to who you are. Correct. That's the key when it comes to branding. And in nightlife, it's the same exact thing. How do we create this experience and connection to a venue, to a disco, to a restaurant, to whatever it is that's happening, that people are going to feel that they're going to go have this great time with their friends and their family and whoever because of the marketing that you're doing.
Correct. I've been hearing a lot about the whole, the have them fall in love with you and all that kind of thing, or that connection with either the listeners, the followers, whoever it is, your customer. In my business in general, our clientele, and as a matter of fact, when I started a long time ago in this, one of the things that I realized after years after, that I was very good at was that it was real friendships, real connections. It wasn't, like, come to my party or whatever.
They came because of you.
Exactly. So it was that. It was, I mean, back in the days, you used to do parties and you would have 500 people come, just coming to you directly
on your list. They say
list,
your name
with your name. Yes, 100%. You don't see that anymore today, because today people are showing it's just like, you follow me, and it's not a relationship anymore. Even though it's social media, they're building a relationship, but it's not social at all. It's all about one side. And I realized as I started creating more content and doing a little more of these and that with the podcast and different things, that I started staying away a little from the clients and being close to them and all that. And all of a sudden I realized, wait, I can't. I need to come back. I need to be there, and them realizing. And one of the things that was keeping me from doing lives, by the way, was probably the fact that I felt like, okay, I want to make this as perfect as possible and announce it before and all that. But you know what? I'm glad that you pushed me. So I'm gonna be doing that more.
But I'm gonna jump on, because I don't know if I fully answered the question before, but you just said something that back in the day, being a club promoter was someone that had influence over people. I think club promoters were the original influencers. 20 years ago, club promoters were influencers, where we moved people to come to one location. And if something didn't work out with the club...
Hey, and we didn't need to look like this, by the way.
Thank you. A couple years ago.
100%. I use that term a lot, by the way. The original influencers
had a disagreement with us and we moved somewhere else. Guess what? The people followed. Right. We would take them. They wouldn't be going back to that club Friday night. They'd be going to our new spot.
You have no idea how many times they you would end up a relationship with a club for whatever reasons. They would feel, we keep that party or whatever. And in 3 days, you move everybody over to another venue because they're there for you. It is that 100%. And there's a few people that do it right nowadays.
Yeah.
And are followed because of the right reasons, and they do, take care of their clients in that sense. But okay, so coming back to the general branding idea, a lot of people are focusing on Instagram alone. What is the mistake there? What should
great question. I just actually did yesterday an event here at the Entrepreneurial Creative Center. It's called Socially Infused Networking, and we talked about this. And then I also had a group from Toronto that I was speaking to. So I had the laptop with 13 people, had another 10 or 4 people in front of me, and I talked about Instagram is the most popular social media right now. It's the number one.
Right.
And people are building entire businesses off of Instagram. But what if one day something just happens to happen to Instagram?
The other day it happened for like a few hours.
It did. I did a Facebook Live about it. People's followers got chopped down. Thousands of people got chopped down because there's so many bots and fake followers and blah, blah, blah. So I've been teaching about this for a long time. And it's all about diversification, number one, and having massive exposure everywhere. Because the more exposure you have, the more people you can reach. Right. What happens is this. People are just seeing immediate success through the Instagram, and they're just put more and more and more into something that they see successful, which makes sense. But for longevity purposes, that's a mistake.
Right.
Any very successful, smart businessman knows that you don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Correct.
Because you never know what can happen, especially when you're not the one that controls the platform.
Right.
I was watching a Netflix a special on the poker. That a couple years ago, the government closed down online poker. It was a $32 billion industry, and they shut it down. I don't know if it's back up and running or what, because I don't gamble, but people were making millions of dollars. Their whole livelihoods were based on this. And on Black Friday of 2011, they woke up and it was done. Imagine. So this is the same thing. If someone is focusing on building their business only on Instagram, I tell them to start now diversifying. Right. Take the same content that you're posting, put it on other social medias, and have your own site and have things where in case something happened, you have a backup. Because if not, you literally can lose everything from one day to the next.
Right. That's great advice for sure. There's another factor that I've been also hearing from people like Gary and you, and I know I've gone in a different route, which I feel comfortable with on my terms, but I also see what you guys are talking about, and it's very important at the beginning of anybody's branding, when they begin the whole branding process, and it's the decision of, do I brand the company or do I brand the name? Or do I brand them together? Or, what is the recommendation?
Another great question. And this one's really, really important for those of you guys watching and listening. If you're trying to make a decision of, do I brand the business? Do I brand myself? What do I do? You first have to ask yourself this question. Are you a personality-driven business? Okay, how do you answer that question? Who does the majority of the sales in your business? Who works with the customer or the client the majority of the time? And who is the face of your business? If you've answered you to all three of those questions, you are 100% a personality-driven business.
Right.
What that means is, if you focus on branding yourself, you will see faster success than if you brand the company. I'll explain to you why. And I'm not sharing this. I'm sharing this from a personal perspective and because I've done this for thousands of people.
Right.
I personally used to, I still do, I own a production company called A&P Productions, and I used to promote my business. And I'd go out there and I'd meet people and I would make the majority of my sales. Actually, I make 100% of my sales. What am I talking about? I'm an entrepreneur. I make all my sales.
Right.
And I'd work with all my customers, even though I have a team and I have people that do a lot of stuff for me, videographers, graphic designers, web developers, copywriters, you name it. I have a huge team. I'm still the main person.
Right.
I started realizing when I listened to my testimonials that we had shot from an event and it was finally edited and I listened to the testimonials, every single person shared about their experience with Ray Perez. It was all about his energy, the way he takes care of my business as if it's his own. You know, he's just so passionate about what he does. You know, the way that he's a visionary. Nobody talked about my company. They talked about me and my team. How, oh, he's got an amazing team. They're always taking care of us, blah, 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 blah. So then something clicked in my brain and said, wait a second. I'm spending time, money, and energy on promoting a company when every single person that gave a testimonial talked about me, the person.
Right.
What if I decided to put the same amount of money, energy, and time into branding myself? And that's what I started to do as an experiment 3.5 years ago. So first what I did was I added my image to all of my branding. Still had my company colors, still had my company logo, still had my company information.
Right.
But I added my image, my face to it. And at first, everyone who's like listening and watching, at first, it's very uncomfortable to see yourself everywhere. Okay? It feels very freaking weird to see yourself everywhere. It feels egotistical. It feels unnatural.
When I walked in, I thought it was your wife's office.
She loves coming in here. But, so I added my image to it. I started seeing better results. So then I said, okay, I started studying the psychology of colors. And even though my colors for my company were on brand, the color that I wanted people to feel, there's an emotions. Colors have emotions, right? That's why if you notice, all restaurants are red.
Right.
The majority of restaurants were red. Burger King, McDonald's, Jack in the Box, Wendy's, you name it. They're all red.
The gold in the casino.
Red, white, and correct. So there's a whole psychology there. So I studied that. So I decided to change my color to blue because blue is trust and it's credibility, it's authority. Right. So I shifted from my orange, which was Lively, and which was my company, right? Production company. And I went to blue. And then I started branding myself with my expert title, which I never had before. Before I was CEO and founder of AMP Productions.
Right.
Then I became branding and marketing expert. And then it shifted to global branding expert because that's what I really specialize in.
Right.
And I will tell you that the speed of building the relationships and the connections and closing the sales started to increase. Like I just started to see it happen faster and faster and faster. So it wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't a mistake. I have been doing this for 10 years. I am a overnight success, 15 years in the making.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And I don't know anybody who isn't, by the way.
Correct.
So then...
So what is the logic behind that?
So I'm going to explain the logic behind it, and I'm also going to share this. For anybody who is watching this, if you guys follow up with Julio, I will send my entire presentation that I do all over the world. It's about an hour and 11 minutes where I explain in detail what we're talking about. So today, I only promote myself. I mean, you can see it behind me. It's Ray Perez, global branding expert. Right. I have my own logo for myself, and it's more than business. It's a relationship. That's what I stand for. I stand for it's more than business. It's a relationship. Ray Perez. Now, when I meet people, I build a relationship. I build trust. I build credibility. I build connection. They feel that love. Right. Then we have a business conversation.
Correct.
And then they'll be introduced to my company, which still does need branding.
Right.
Never said don't brand your company.
Correct.
But if you're a personality-driven business, you want to lead with the thing that makes you the most money. And guess what? It's you.
Right.
Like, sit there and think about it, even for yourself and everybody who's listening. Has anybody else in your business made the sales for you?
Not really.
Not really, right? Like, let's be honest. As entrepreneurs, even if you own a business and you might have a few salespeople, in the end of the day, majority make the majority of the sales. Why would you not invest in your very top salesperson?
Right.
Why would you not highlight? Now, there's no right or wrong here. I have just figured out a way to be more effective. Like you said, you figured out a path, you've been doing it, it's been working well. You just don't know what's on the other side.
Right. In my case, for example, I've been meeting new people that don't even know my name now. Like the new generation know me as the Nightlife Entrepreneur instead of Julio Zambrano, which I kind of when I started, actually, the first podcast I did, I felt a little uncomfortable when I introduced the show and I went to say my name. It just sounded weird, the Julio and the whole English versus the Julio accent in Spanish. The second episode, I became Jay for some reason. By the third episode, I said, you know what, no, whatever. I am still Julio, but I am also the Nightlife Entrepreneur, which is the name I use.
So how do you introduce yourself? If somebody, if we're at a networking event?
I still use Julio when I introduce myself as in person for sure.
But do you have a title?
When it's, I guess.
All right.
So when it's a business meeting.
No, I'm talking about
in general.
My name is Ray Perez, and I'm a global branding expert.
Right.
I don't say the number one because it feels a little weird.
Right.
On print, I'm okay with that. But if I introduce myself, my name is Ray Perez, and I'm a global branding expert.
Right.
So when you introduce yourself, how do you introduce yourself?
I do not do that second part.
All right, so let's talk about that because that's the question you asked me.
Yeah.
So the number one thing, and write this down, everyone, you need an expert title. An expert title says who you are in the world. Doesn't define what you do in your business, but it's who you are. And the easiest way to explain what an expert title is by explaining what is not an expert title. Okay? CEO, founder, president, director.
Those are titles.
Those are titles and positions in companies. And they make absolutely no difference.
Which is the way we used to introduce ourselves.
Which is totally the way we used to. And times have changed. My next book that I'm coming out with is called How to Build Raving Fans in the 21st Century. Because it's the way to do it. It's completely changed now. So the reason why an expert title is so important is because you have to create value for the person you just met the second you introduce yourself. Otherwise, you lost their engagement.
Right.
And I'll prove it. I'll introduce myself 2 different ways, and you tell me if you feel a difference. If you feel a difference in the way I introduce myself. Welcome, everyone. My name is Ray Perez, and I'm owner and founder of AMP Productions. Welcome, everyone. My name is Ray Perez, and I'm a global branding expert.
Completely.
You feel a difference because there could be a benefit from you from this human being who just introduced themselves.
Right.
That's the piece of the puzzle most people are missing. They're not creating instant value for who they are as a human being the moment someone meets them. Now, understand, they don't have to meet you physically. They can end up on your Facebook and say, Ray Perez, global branding expert.
Right.
Instant value.
Right.
If they don't feel instant value, they move on.
Correct.
That's the one thing I learned. Second, USP, unique selling proposition. Now, this isn't just in personal branding. This is in business as well. All companies need to have a USP or know their USP. Most entrepreneurs don't even know what a USP is. A unique selling proposition. This is what you do for the world, what you do for your clients, what you do for people. And it all has to do with the results that you produce. Nobody cares what you actually do. They only care about what you do for them.
Right.
And a lot of people you meet in a networking event, the first question is, so hi, nice to meet you, blah, blah, what do you do? And then they go into this whole freaking thing about all the stuff that they do, and you just it's like Charlie Brown, wah, 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 wah. Nobody cares. But if you told them, I can help you increase your sales, I can increase your referrals and generate, 20, 30 more % in your business through our marketing program, you'd say, hey, can you tell me a little bit more? Because there's some benefit for me. So by having an expert title, having a USP, you elevate the value that you have for someone and you get them to want to engage with you. And that could be physical, offline, when you speak to people, or that can be in written form, digitally, online, through all the different capacities that there are. Which is why everywhere, if you see my face, you're going to see my name and you're going to see my expert title right under it.
Correct.
Because without that expert title, there's no value for you.
Dude, I feel like I should be paying for this right now.
I'll send you a bill later. No, just kidding.
And you're talking. You asked, how did I feel when you introduce yourself the 2 different ways? And I was actually, I get this vibe from you, which I have been getting for a long time actually, but I hadn't seen you in a while. And in general, your personality, the way you talk, the way you speak, and everything. Is that part of the brand, or should everybody be themselves without trying to be this all,
Really good question, Julio. No, be yourself. I am very energetic. It's just my personality.
Right.
But being true to who you are. Actually, that is my closing statement in my talk show that I have. We're on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire Stick.
Okay.
It's called Today's Premier Experts. I've interviewed Les Brown, Kevin Harrington, Forbes Riley, all these celebrities. And I always say at the very end, never leave for tomorrow what you can do today, and always stay true to your brand. But what that means is if your style is not as loud and energetic as mine, that's fine.
Right.
But you still have something inside of you. You have a greatness that the world hasn't seen yet. And what I specialize in doing, and why I actually believe that I am the #1 global branding expert, is because
bringing that out.
I bring that out in people.
Right.
I don't create something fancy for you. I actually have a conversation, ask you questions, and pull out of you what's already living there, and I turn it into a digital presence so the world can see it.
Right.
And when you pull out someone's greatness and you show it to the world, guess what happens? They're attracted to it.
Right.
Exactly what you just said. People start to, I don't know why, but I just feel this thing. It's the feeling.
Right.
I have been able to, and this is my God-given gift, right? This isn't this is my gift. I have seen so many people's lives and businesses be transformed through this process because it's not something we're inventing.
Right.
It's just something we're putting a light on and we're sharing. And the more you share who you are, the more people are going to love you, the more they're going to connect with you, and the more they're going to promote you, and they're going to be your raving fans. And the more raving fans you have, the world is going to know. That's why Gary Vee is so loved. That's why Tony Robbins is so loved, and they have these like religious followers. That's only because they're getting their brand out into the world consistently, and they're getting it around everywhere.
Right. Dude, it's crazy. Another question, and one of the last ones. There's a lot of people out there, the ones that focus on their Instagram and on the whole title of trying to be an influencer. I guess that is the new cool thing, to be out there or whatnot. And I know when I walked in, I just noticed, the green car I see you driving all the time and all that kind of thing. It's your lifestyle. It is what you do. It is the true you, as you have mentioned, which a lot of people aspire to get those things. But I have seen lately a growth in people trying to show what they are not with those kinds of things, but not just the ones that want to, like, let's say a promoter of clubs or whatever that wants to show he's in a yacht with 20 girls, whatever, that's part of the business or whatever. But showing stuff that is not really theirs, renting a car or whatever, and even worse, those who sell products that promise things that they haven't even achieved because they're showing you the mansion and the whole thing without, I'm not going to use names. But there's people out there that everybody knows they're not real, as some others that we don't even know if they are or not.
Yep.
What would be the tip in that sense? Like, what should those people be investing their time on instead of that? Time and money.
That's a really good question, and I can go on an entire rant about this because there is a new social currency that exists now that did not exist 5 to 10 years ago. There is a value now on the amount of likes and followers a human being has.
Right.
But that has in reality, it has zero weight on who they are as a person, human being, or even the quality of their business or services.
And there's people who actually seriously care about those things. Like,
there is a lot of people that seriously care. Well, because you know what it is, social, and this is such a, we can do an entire podcast just on this topic. Like, seriously, we need another hour just for this. Human beings, psychologically and physically get what's called not endorphins. It's the happy drug. Anybody help me here? The happy drug. It releases serotonin. Okay. So when
we bring the smart guys.
Yes, that's why we got the smart guys in the back of the room here. So serotonin is released into the brain when you actually complete something or get some type of recognition, or, like, example, a like
Right.
That actually will release serotonin into the brain. And it's called the happy drug because it makes you feel a euphoric, happy feeling.
Right.
Same thing with checklists. The reason we're always like, put your goal list and cross out your list and things like that. The moment you accomplish something, you feel good about it. Even back in the day when we were kids and you used to go to the grocery store and mom would give you a list and you'd run and you go get the things and you'd cross it off and you'd be excited. You don't realize that every time you scratch something off the list, you were accomplishing something, you were feeling good, and you're releasing serotonin. This is scientifically proven.
Right.
So social media is the new way for people to actually receive the happy drug and feel good about themselves.
Right.
By getting more likes, by getting more views, by getting more followers, every single time that happens and they refresh and they look, they're releasing serotonin into their brain. So, and this actually is the new addiction. This is the new drug that is happening in our society. And again, this could be an entire conversation.
By the way, like and share this video because we want some serotonin.
Yes, we both want some serotonin. So like, share, and comment below 100%. So here's the thing. I go on total rants about how people are using social media and their followers and their this and that. But then when it really comes down to it, are not successful in monetary points. Yes, I do.
I haven't even figured out how am I going to monetize this business.
And they're totally faking it. And I have heard the term "fake it till you make it." I say faith it till you make it. And yes, sometimes you do have to have a persona and a personality, but I just don't believe that that's actually going to give you longevity. Yes, I have a BMW i8. Yes, I wrapped it in lime green. I like fast cars. I would do it anyway. It's not my only car. I have an X6 as well. You know what I mean? So it's something because I would spend the money on something that I enjoy and love anyway.
Right.
I wouldn't necessarily, do like watches. I'm not a big watch guy. I have 2 Rolexes, and that's all I have. And I've had them for 10 years.
I have kids.
Well, no, there you go. I don't have kids, so I get to. But if I had kids, I probably wouldn't have the nice sports car, and I'd be taking them to a nice college or a high school or Catholic or whatever, So the point is, people, yes, 100% are faking it out there. And I would say, in my honest opinion, I'm probably going to piss off a lot of people who are listening to this. In my opinion, I would say about 80% of quote unquote influencers, people who have a large following and could be qualified as an influencers, are pretty much broke. Mm-hmm. And they're just, even though people are like, oh my God, this person, and they're loved and they're adored and they have the following and they might have quote unquote influence, they have potential, they're not making any money. Right. But here's the reason why. Because they don't actually have any real product or service. Right. The only ones that are is because they either have their own product or service, or they've attached and partnered with a company or a person that does have a product or service that they can monetize on. Because the influence over people is only useful if there's something that those people can buy from. And if you have 100,000 followers, but you have a product or service and 85% of those followers are not in the demographic, you're not going to sell it anyway. Right. And this happens a lot. And the reason I know is because what I do for personal branding is very useful to anyone who is a quote unquote influencer. And there's so many influencers that love to go through my brand in 2 days event, but can't afford a couple $1,000s. Right.
I'm pretty sure we're almost out of time. So, you just mentioned your branding in 2 days event. I was going to ask you about that, because when I read it and I've seen it a few times, how do you brand somebody in 2 days? I mean, it must be a
we probably should have led with that, but yes, I have figured out a way to do 2 things. Number one, I have packed in about $15,000 to $20,000 worth of branding and marketing services, and we deliver it between $2,000 to $5,000. So that alone, we give people 3 times the value of what they would get anywhere. Right. And then it would typically take 3 to 6 months to develop everything that we do for any branding agency, marketing agency. And I challenge anyone out there, I challenge you, we will deliver in 48 hours what companies take 3 to 6 months. And the only reason I've been able to do it is because I have perfected the system and the process through myself. I became the guinea pig. I tested it. I tweaked it. I have a team of 17 graphic designers, web developers, copywriters, you name it. And they're all working around the clock for 48 hours to do this now we only have 15 people per event. So we do limit it because there's only so much we can do in that amount of time.
Correct.
But we literally will deliver more value, more resources, high quality at a price point and a turnaround time that nobody can do. Brandin2days.com will give you all the information. And we've developed a technology called My 360 Sites, which you might have to invite me back on the show to talk about that.
We definitely have to have another one for sure.
And just really quick, My 360 Sites is a platform that I invented after figuring out all this personal branding stuff. Right. After doing the brand in 2 days, I realized that I needed to pull everything together in one place.
Right.
I needed to give people access to connect with me on the media that they want, that they prefer.
Right.
I had no way to do that off my website. So I invented a platform that connects every media that you exist in the planet, and I call it the easy button. Right. All they do is pick it, they press it, and they connect with you, and they get to research and build a relationship. Right. And that's my 360 site. So if anybody wants to connect with me, visit rayperez360.com and connect with me on any of my social medias.
Awesome. Guys, I wanted to close with a little something on branding that has to do with the industry. I've been working with many different brands or venues over here. And we've been doing a lot of consulting lately. And a lot of the time we concentrate and we focus a lot on service. We focus a lot on having product. And definitely if we get in before they have opened the venue, we focus on location. Location. A great quality of product and great service. And from back in the day, we used to be like, you have those, there's no way that you're going to lose or whatnot. But then we started helping some venues and we started seeing something happening, which was these guys are giving great product, they're giving great service, and they have an amazing location. But then somebody else opened 2 doors away and they have the same product, the same service, the same quality product, the same location, of course, but they're branded in a certain way that they were just the brand that people knew. And I realized how important at that moment it was, like that branding was the one, you know what I mean? That was the most important factor in the end, because you could, you end up going, people end up going to the venue that is branded over the one that they might not enjoy whatever they're having a little more than the other. It's just because that is the brand they know. So
McDonald's spends hundreds of millions of dollars on branding.
Like Grey Goose might not be the best,
but they're branding.
As Corona is not the best beer, but they're the ones that are branded. So
100%.
So, all right, guys. Dude, thank you so much.
Absolutely, my
pleasure. For everything, a lot of information, and thank you so much for pushing me to do the live today. I have no idea who was there. I'll get to you guys later for sure, but and we are gonna have to have you back. And guys, remember to follow me at the Nightlife Entrepreneur on Instagram, and go to the website nightlifepodcast.com and see all the episodes there. How about you?
RayPerez360.com. You can call, you can text, you can WhatsApp, and connect with me any of my social medias. RayPerez360.com.
Awesome. See you next week.
All right, guys, we out.